Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle something that causes a whole lot of excitement and maybe a little bit anxiety in homes all across India, the exam scorecard. Let's make sense of it together.
So, the results are out, you're looking at all these numbers, marks, grades, percentiles, but what story are they actually telling you? If you've ever felt kind of lost just staring at a result sheet, trust me, you are not alone. Let's decode this whole thing one piece at a time. All right, first up, let's talk about your board exams. The Central Board of Secondary Education, or CBSE, uses a system that might actually surprise you. It's called relative grading. You know, a lot of us grew up with a pretty simple system. Score between 91 and 100, you get an A1. Simple. But the CBSE's way is, well, it's relative. Your grade isn't about hitting a fixed number. It's all about how you did compared to every single other person who passed that subject. So to get that top A1 grade, you don't just need a high score. You have to be in the top 1/8 of all the students who passed. And here's where it gets really interesting. This means that you and your friend could get the exact same raw score, say 92, but end up with totally different grades. How is that possible? Well, it all comes down to the performance curve of everyone who took that specific exam. It's not just about your score anymore. It's about your rank in the crowd. Okay, so that's the school boards. Now let's switch gears and talk about the big one, university entrance exams, like the CUET. Here, the rules of the game change completely. We say goodbye to grades and hello to the world of percentiles. This is where your rank in the great university race really comes into focus. So, what on earth is a percentile? Here's the key thing you absolutely have to remember. It has nothing to do with the percentage of questions you got right. A 98th percentile score is amazing, not because you got 98% correct, but because you scored better than 98% of every other person who took that test. It's all about your rank. Here's a super simple way to think about it. Your marks, that's your personal score. That's what you achieved. Your percentile, that's your competitive position. It answers that one crucial question. Where do I actually stand in this massive crowd of people all trying to get in? And this table gives you a pretty good idea of how those marks actually translate into a percentile rank based on data from past years. Take a look. To get into that super competitive top tier, we're talking the 98th percentile and up, you generally need a score of over 700 out of 800. It's a tough race.
But hang on a second. With literally millions of students taking the CUET on different days and different shifts, a huge question pops up. What if one day's paper was just way harder than another? How can you possibly compare those scores fairly? Well, the answer is a process called normalization.
Yeah, this is the exact thought that keeps students up at night. You hear the whispers, right? Oh, the morning shift was a piece of cake, but the afternoon one was a nightmare. The good news? The system has a fix for this so that at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. So, normalization, its whole purpose in life is to level the playing field. It's basically a statistical method that makes sure no student is at a disadvantage just because they happen to get a tougher set of questions. It's what makes a score from Monday morning comparable to one from Tuesday afternoon. So, how does this magic work? It's actually pretty logical. First, the system looks at every single exam session and calculates the average score and how the scores were spread out. Then, it takes your score and sees how you did compared to the average of just your group. Were you way above average, right on it, a little below? And finally, it uses that relative performance to put your score onto a common scale, which gives you your final, normalized score. That's the score that can be fairly compared with everyone else's. And this brings us to a huge myth that we have to bust right now. Just because you get the highest raw score in your particular session does not automatically mean you get the 100th percentile overall. Nope. A student who got a slightly lower score in a much, much harder session could actually end up with a higher normalized score and a better percentile. It's all relative. Okay, so we've talked about relative grading, percentiles, this whole normalization thing. After all that, what is the single most important thing that you, as a student or a parent, need to take away from all this? You know, it's almost a reflex, right? The second the results are in hand, the first thing everyone wants to do is calculate that final overall percentage. It's just what we're used to. But on this specific point, the official policy is incredibly clear. Let's just go straight to the source. This is an official notice from the CBSE itself, and the wording here is super important. It says no overall division/distinction/aggregate shall be awarded. And then, even more directly, the board does not calculate/declare/inform percentage of marks. It couldn't be clearer. Any percentage calculation is done by the university you're applying to, not by the board. So let's just tie this all up in a neat bow. The whole modern exam system, at its heart, is about your rank, not just your raw marks. It's designed to see where you stand compared to your peers. And you can absolutely stop worrying about calculating an official final percentage from the board, because it simply doesn't exist. The entire system is built to be as fair as possible, using tools like normalization to make sure of it.
And that leaves us with one last big idea to think about. Knowing that you're competing for a rank, that you're not just chasing a specific number, can be a total game changer. It's not just about knowing the material. It's about performing better than the person next to you. So how does that shift in perspective change how you prepare for the road ahead? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.